So, a pleasant day to all of you. We are the Group 4, and we will be discussing about code switching, multilingualism, and inclusivity in ads. So, first we have code switching. Next slide, please. So, code switching is referred to as the act of switching between two or more language, dialects, or language varieties. It is oftentimes influenced by situational, social, or cultural elements. It is in linguistics, it is used to highlight meanings, express identities, and establishing connection with audiences, making the text more relatable. So why is code switching relevant to advertising? Next slide, please. Code switching is relevant to advertising because it reflects cultural identities and linguistic preference of multilingual audiences. Meaning to say, it is code switching is used to carry the cultural identity of the language that is being used, and also it relates to the audiences by supplying the need of their linguistic preferences. Also, it reduces the effect of social stratification. Social stratification simply means hierarchical arrangement or of individual or groups in the society. Now, advertisements has advertisements may unintentionally create boundaries through language, suggesting that some products are for the elite or for ordinary people. If you use formal English in your advertisement, people might assume that your advertisement would own that your product would only be for the elite. While if you use vernacular slang or local dialects, people would assume that it will be for the commoners or for the ordinary people. Now, code switching helps to reduce the effects created by this stratification by um, making the audiences feel addressed or including giving inclusivity of audiences, and it also breaks barriers, making the product less exclusive only for a specific group of people. And the most important is that it expands your market. The product could be connected to the massa. By using code switching, you could relate your advertisement to the people, especially if your target market is the are the populated groups of people like millennials or the Gen Zs. If you use code switching, which is very prevalent in their language, in our language nowadays rather, that makes your market expand, making your advertisement more effective. Another thing is that Another thing is that code switching increases emotional appeal or foster relatability, which strengthens the persuasiveness of the text. Also, it enhances brand perceptions among target consumers, which will increase audience engagement for your advertisement. Now, let's take a look at these examples. So, first we have here is the Ribisco, or yeah, the Ribisco. If you can see, As you can see, the Ribisco poster uses Taglish language in their slogan. From the phrase alone, ang taong witty, happy ang tummy. In that phrase alone, it uses both Tagalog and English. In that way, it targets Filipino as its market, making Filipinos making Filipinos to buy the product, which is the Ribisco. And also, it embraces Filipino culture, which adds to its brand identity. And if you could notice, using Taglish in the slogan makes it more playful. And because it is playful in the it is because it is play, playful, it becomes more memorable, and also it reflects cultural relevance in linguistic diversity of the Philippines. Example is the Sarimax, or the Sarimax. As you can see in the poster, it uses Bisaya and English language. Here it says kung naay arthritis, Sarimax na. So that phrase alone uses both Bisaya and English in their slogan. So therefore, we could conclude that the target market of the Sarimax is for the Filipinos who are familiar with Bisaya language. And also it adds to the brand identity because it embraces Filipino culture, specifically the Bisaya culture, and also it adds to the playfulness of the advertisement, making it more memorable, thus getting more consumers to buy the product. Also, we have here Domex. In the Domex poster, we have here patayang all known germs when used pure. So that phrase uses Taglish combination, and it targets Filipinos, which by appealing to their cultural relevance and adding Filipino culture on their brand identity. And also, again, it is also playful in the sense, thus it makes more memorable, getting more consumers to buy the product.
Good day, everyone. I am Gabonada Rosalaya. So today we're gonna talk about multilingualism. So what is multilingualism? So multilingualism, the capacity to communicate in multiple languages, is known as multilingualism. Speakers can switch between languages as needed because it reflects a linguistic repertoire influenced by social, cultural, and educational factors. Globalized societies are seeing a rise in multilingualism, which is associated with increased communication abilities, cultural awareness, and cognitive flexibility. So, what is the use of multilingualism in an advertisement? So, multilingualism greatly influences the way that brands interact with a variety of audiences. In addition, to recognizing culture differences, using multiple language in ads promote inclusivity and consumer trust. This strategy enables businesses to successfully compete in multicultural settings and build stronger relationships with their target market. So, multilingualism in advertising is used to connect with diverse audiences, increase market reach, and create a more personalized, culturally relevant brand experience. So it will expand the market reach. And advertising in multiple languages allows businesses to reach potential customers who may not speak the primary language of the region. And it also tap into new markets. Multilingual ads can open doors to the new geographic markets and demographic segments, increasing the potential customer base. It will enhance brand perception. It will show cultural sensitivity. Using the target audience language demonstrate respect for their culture and values, fostering a positive brand image. Speaking to customer in their native language makes the brand feel more relatable and approachable. And it will also improve the trust and credibility to the customers are more likely to trust and engage with brands that communicate in their language as it show a commitment to understanding their needs. So here are the some examples successfully use multilingual advertisement. So first is the McDonald's. So the fast food giant adapts its menu and messaging to different cultural contexts. For example, in India, where beef is not widely consumed, McDonald's introduced a range of vegetarian options tailored to local tastes. And McDonald's adapt its advertising campaign to resonate with a specific culture, incorporating local languages, customs, and tradition. The second is Coca-Cola. So the newest advertisement of Coca-Cola is Share a Coke. So this campaign replaced the Coca-Cola logo on the bottles and cans with popular name in various languages, encouraging people to find their name or the name of someone they know and share a Coke. So this personalized approach resonated with consumer, creating a sense of connection and inclusivity across different cultures and languages. So, for example, in China, bottle contains nickname instead of first name. And in the US, focused on song lyrics, while in the UK, it focused on vacation, destination, real estate in the bottle. So here in the Philippines, if your name is common, you can see it in the in the Coke. So that would be all. Thank you.
Good morning. Once again, I am Luz Bernadette M. Villarosa, and today I am going to talk about inclusivity in ads. So, inclusivity in advertising means creating ads that fairly represent people from different races, genders, ages, abilities, and backgrounds. Instead of showing any limited or stereotypical image of society, inclusive ads aims to reflect the real diversity we see in society. So this is very crucial because it does not only promote equality and acceptance, but it will also help brands connect with audiences on a deeper and more emotional level. So when people see themselves represented in ads, they feel valued, and this builds stronger trust and loyalty toward the brand. So now let's look at some examples of inclusive advertising. So first we have here the ad from Bench. So Bench launched the Love All Kinds of Love campaign. So as we all know, Bench is a Filipino clothing brand, and they launched this campaign to celebrate love in all its forms, including LGBTQ plus relationships. So this was effective rather because it challenged traditional stereotypes about love and relationships in Philippine advertising. By openly showing same-sex couples, Bench not only gave representation to the LGBTQ plus community, but also strengthened its brand as bold, progressive, and socially aware. It created conversations and connected with younger, open-minded audiences. And the second example is is Dove's Real Beauty campaign. So Dove showcased women of all shapes, sizes, and ages and skin tones instead of the usual perfect models. So again, this campaign is very effective because it broke beauty stereotypes and redefined what it means to be beautiful. It was effective because it resonated with women around the world who often felt excluded from mainstream ads. By making beauty more inclusive, Dove built emotional trust and long term loyalty with its customers. And then the last example is Google's year in search. So this is a video that highlights the most searched topics globally. So these includes events, movements, and stories that reflect the struggles and triumphs of diverse communities. And this campaign is effective because it doesn't just promote Google's search engine, it tells human stories. By featuring people of different backgrounds, cultures, and experiences, Google shows that its platform connects the world and reflects inclusivity on a global scale. It creates an emotional impact while positioning Google as a brand that values diversity and shared human experiences. So overall, being more inclusive, companies can encourage social awareness, break harmful stereotypes, and open their products or services to a wider audience. In turn, this builds stronger brand trust, improves customer loyalty, and ensures that advertising speaks to people who may have previously felt unseen or underrepresented. So it's not just good ethics, it's also good business. That would be all for me. Thank you guys for listening.
So, good morning, everyone. I'm Ana Dexi Felicelda. So, let's talk about the what are the impact on the local audiences. So, one of the most important things to look at when we're talking about code switching in ads is its impact on the local audiences. So, using a mix of English and Filipino in advertisement helps brands to connect more effectively with viewers because it's mirror the way many Filipinos naturally communicate in our daily life. So, according to Banataw and MailNab 2020, so code switching in Philippine advertisements enhances cultural relatability and fosters strong engagements among viewers. However, not all of its effects are positive. So this makes it is important to examine both pros and cons of code switching in order to fully understand its impact. So next slide please. So we have here pros and cons. The first one is emotional connection. When brands making an ads, it should be feel warm, friendly, and relatable to the audience. When ads mix English and Filipino, they sound natural and friendly. However, we can um actually talk every day. This makes the audience feel closer to the brands. So the second one is cultural pride. So represent local identity, making audiences to feel valued. So code switching can highlight Filipino culture and values, making audiences to feel proud of their identity. It reflects tradition, customs, or even humor that are unique. So the third one is better recall and engagement. So people may pay attention because it sounds natural and familiar. So when ad sounds natural and familiar, people are more likely to pay attention and remember the message. Or a tagline that mixed language can stick to their mind better than a plain one. So the fourth one is inclusivity. So it reaches more people by mixing language. So by using both Filipino and English, ads can reach a wider audience across classes and regions. It makes people included regardless of their preferred language. The last one is the brand loyalty. So build trust and makes the brand feel approachable. So when brands consistently use language that feels approachable and authentic, audience develop trust and loyalty to that brand. So the brand is seen not just as a business but as something that understands its customer. So let's proceed to to the negative or cons. So the first one is the rise of inclusion. So non-speaker of that certain language may feel left out. So if an ad uses too much of one language or dialect, it can alienate viewers who don't understand it, or it creates division and instead of unity. The second one is misinterpretation. So some jokes or slangs may not translate well. So some phrases or joke may not translate well across languages, leading to misunderstanding of the message. This can weaken the ads effectively. So the third one is overuse can sound forced. So if done poorly, it may feel changing. If code switching is used too much or in an unnatural it can sound awkward or trying too hard, making the audience cringe instead of connect. So the fourth one is regional limitation. So what works in Bisaya speaking areas might not work in Luzon or other regions. So what works in one region may not work in another. Ads that lean too heavily in local dialects may be limited to region use or costing brands more to produce separate versions. So the last one is cultural sensitivity. So wrong words choice or tone can offend instead of connect. So if brand use the wrong words or cultural symbols, it can be offend people instead of connecting with them. So this is especially risky when ads touch on religion, tradition, or national pride. So that's all. Thank you.
Now, let's proceed to inclusive and gender sensitive language in advertising. So, what is inclusive and gender sensitive language in advertising? So, it is the use of words and visuals that respect all individuals and avoid stereotypes. In other words, it is a marketing strategy where intentional practice is designed to ensure that everyone feels seen and included in a certain advertisement. Now, for key principles, next slide please. First, we have here gender neutrality, which is the practice of avoiding language that assumes, categorizes, or differentiates based on gender, treating everyone as an individual. It requires eliminating unnecessary gendered terms to challenge traditional biases by using generic, non gendered terms like friend or boss instead of gendered language in marketing. Next is inclusive nouns and pronouns. This principle ensures that language respects all individuals by avoiding gendered or exclusionary nouns and pronouns. By implicitly endorse a respect for both the singular they and other gendered inclusive language. Then lastly is challenging stereotypes, which involves in actively dismantling preconceived notions about groups of people by promoting diversity in visual and linguistic representation. The strategy is to portray people in non traditional roles instead of reinforcing harmful biases, such as by contrasting identical male and female actions that receive gender biased labels, for example, the words boss versus bossy. Now, for business impact, next please. Inclusive advertising is not only ethical but a smart business decision that leads to increased sales, stronger brand loyalty, and a better brand reputation. Positioning a brand is a modern and aligned with a diverse society's values. So, for examples, next slide please. First, we have here the Coca Cola Share a Coke campaign, which successfully neutrality tone as it successfully removed gendered language from its marketing equation. This was achieved by directly printing popular names and generic non gendered terms like friend or boss into the bottles, thereby replacing gendered language and casting roles. So, visually, the campaign featured a diverse mix of individuals of all genders and ages, focusing on the universal act of sharing and personal connection, which effectively treated the consumer as a person rather than a gender category. Next is the Lazada's 2021 Pride. Okay, the Lazada's 2021 Pride Month advertisement, which encouraged the LGBTQA community to be confident by using the tagline "Be Proud, Be You." This successfully used inclusive nouns and pronouns as the core message is empowerment. The crucial element regarding inclusive language is that the ads associated discussions and online context explicitly featured and uplift individuals who use gender neutral and personal pronouns to celebrate the identities of the LGBTQIA+ community, implicitly endorsing the respect for both singular they and other gendered inclusive language. And next slide, please. So for challenging stereotypes, we have here the ad Pantene lab- the ad which is Pantene labels against women digital advertisement in 2013. This commercial directly dismantles workplace gender bias by using a visual screen comparison. It shows men and women performing identical professional actions, yet applies a positive label on demand. For example, the words boss, persuasive, or dedicated, and a negative bias label to the woman by using the words bossy, pushy, or selfish. So this direct side by side contrast explicitly challenges the stereotype that female assertiveness is a flaw while the same male behavior is a strength. Moreover, by still using this Pantene ad, it, it, it directly confronts work, workplace gender bias as a form of challenging stereotypes. The campaign successfully revitalized the brand. Sales had been declining, but the ad's launch led to a 3% growth in Pantene's value shares within 8 weeks. This success was amplified by the campaign generating over 1 billion impressions, proving the significant financial and brand value derived from inclusive and values driven messaging. Thank you. That's for my part.
So, how is humor and irony used as persuasive tools? Yes. Humor as persuasive tool. Humor acts as an effective persuasive tool in advertising and communication by grabbing attention and enhancing positive emotion, according to Weberger and Golas 1992. In addition to ACENED 2009, it creates audience engagement and creates favorable attitude toward both the advertising and the brand. By making viewers laugh, brands are not only able to build likability and a stronger connection with their audience, but they also encourage consumers to be more receptive to the product or service being advertised. So, example of humor in advertising. So, one of the most famous examples of humor in advertising is Old Spice 2010 campaign. The man your man could smell like. It used over the top, absurd humor to instantly grab attention, making the ad highly memorable and reviving the brand. Instead of marketing directly to young men with hyper masculine or athletic themes, the campaign targeted their female partners with humor and wit. The iconic opening line, "Hello, ladies," directly acknowledged this strategy. The commercial featured a series of surreal and impossible transitions. The spokesman, Asaya Mustafa, begins in a bathroom and seamlessly moves to a boat deck before famously ending up on a horse. This absurd sequence was unpredictable and instantly memorable. Mustafa speaks his line in a confident and smooth, maintaining eye contact with the viewer the whole time. The ad didn't just sell masculinity, it cleverly exaggerated and parodied traditional advertising tropes of masculinity. It was so over the top that it became witty commentary on the very idea of the ideal man. The 2010 Old Spice ad campaign showed that even a well-known brand could change its image and do very well if had the right mix of strategic thinking and creative risk-taking of choosing the right humor to put in ads. Another iconic campaign is Sneakers. You're not you when you're hungry, also from 2010. The 2010 Sneakers advertising campaign, You're Not You When You're Hungry, is a masterclass in leveraging a universal human truth humorous, exaggerated scenarios. So, before this campaign, Sneaker was a well-known candy bar, but it lacked a strong, distinctive brand positioning in the minds of consumer. The strategy shifted from simply selling a tasty, satisfying snack to solving an emotional and social problem hunger plus anger. The whole concept was super simple and relatable. You're not you when you're hungry. Then they showed it in the funniest way possible. The most famous example in that video is that they show a football player playing poorly because he had the strength and demeanor of a sweet elderly woman. After eating a Snickers, he transformed back into young and capable athletes. So the solution was simple. The problem, you're hungry, the solution, eat a Snickers. The message was crystal clear. Snickers satisfy you and brings you back to yourself. It positioned the candy bar not just a snack, but a necessary fix for your a bad mood. Furthermore, the 2010 sneakers ad campaign You're Not You When You're Hungry showed that a classic product could become relevant again and have lasting global success by tying the brand to a deep universal truth and using bold and funny creative to express it. So the last one example of humor in advertising is the RC Cola Philippines Basta campaign represent a groundbreaking example of how absurd humor can transform a struggling brand into a viral sensation. This 2020 commercial titled Basta RC Cola perfectly demonstrates why it belongs squarely within the humor category of advertising. Through its strategic use, surreal, unexpected, and culturally resonant comedic elements. The advertisement opened with what appears to be a typically Filipino telenovela scene. A young boy returns home from school and dramatically asks his mother, Ampun po ba ako? Or in English, am I adopted? After being bullied by classmates. However, the commercial quickly veers into a surreal territory that epitomizes absurd humor. The boy removes his shirt to reveal four drinking glass literally embedded in his back. prompting his mother to reveal her own shocking secret by removing her head to expose an RC Cola bottle underneath. The commercial concludes with the family drinking RC Cola through straw inserted into the glass on the boy's back like in the picture. The timing of advertising campaign released during the COVID-19 pandemic adds another layer to its humor strategy. The advertising provides comic relief during a period when audiences crave escape from negative news. The campaign humor strategy centers around the Filipino word basta, meaning whatever, which perfectly encapsulate Filipino youth and young adults, specifically Gen Z and millennials fluent in internet meme culture and sometimes have laser fear attitude toward decision making. The RC Cola Basta campaign is also a great example of how silly humor can change how people think about a brand, get a lot people to interact with it, and lead to big business result when it used in a way that fits with the values and culture of the audience. So the key advantages of humor as persuasive tool in advertising. The first one is context specific effectiveness. So according to Spatz, Weberger, and Parson 1997, humor can significantly improve advertising effectiveness when it's relevant to the product and message, showing that will match humor increase persuasion. So the statement content specific effectiveness means that humor doesn't work simply by being funny. Its power is unlocked only when it's strategically tied to the product's core features, the brand message, or the problem it solves. It's the difference between telling a joke during a commercial and telling a joke that is the commercial. Their findings demonstrate that while humor can significantly improve advertising effectiveness and persuasion, success depends critically on achieving proper alignment between humorous content, product characteristic, and message objectives. The second one advantages is reduces counter arguing. So by relaxing the audience, humor lower resistance to persuasive messages, enhancing message acceptance. ISNAD 2011 meta-analytical findings provide evidence that humor's ability to reduce counter-arguing represents a fundamental mechanism through which advertising becomes more persuasive. By relaxing audiences and distracting them from generating negative thoughts, humor creates a cognitive pathway that bypass traditional resistance mechanism and enhance overall message acceptance. The third one is create positive brand association. So humor foster positive emotion which can transfer to favorable attitudes toward the brand according to Wegener and Golas 1992. So when humor in ad makes you laugh or smile, you experience a genuine moment of positive emotion. Your brain, seeking to make sense of that feeling, readily connects it to the most obvious source, the brand that delivered the experience. The finding of Wegener and Golas confirms that humor is a powerful tool for emotional branding. It doesn't just sell a product features, it sells a feeling. And by associating the brand with positive emotion, advertising build a reservoir of goodwill that directly influence consumers' attitude and choices. So the last one, key advantages of humor as persuasive tool is enhances brand recall in humorous context. So the research by Chan and Louis provides a compelling empirical evidence that placing products in humorous context significantly enhance brand recall. Humor is a potent advertising tool that, when used effectively, improve memory, foster brand association, and persuade viewers by lowering their defenses. Their study explained the role of humor in marketing communication by demonstrating how this humor context create a cognitive environment that reinforce brand recall through multiple mechanisms. So the key advantages of humor as persuasive tool. The first one is risk of offending audiences. According to AceNet 2011, humor is subjective. What's funny to some may offend others, which can hurt brand image. The concern raised by AceNet 2011 about humor's potential to offend audiences and damage brand image represent one of the most significant challenges in contemporary advertising. The risk stems from the fundamentally subjective nature of humor, where what one person finds amusing may be perceived offensive, inappropriate, or distasteful by others. Humor is highly personal and culturally specific, completing its use in advertising due to varying audience reaction base and cultural factors, age, gender, and experiences. This subjectivity can lead to comedic content being perceived as offensive, resulting in negative brand perceptions and possible boycotts, particularly in today's sensitive media landscape. So the second one is cultural misinterpretation. Humor often depends on cultural context, making it risky in international or diverse markets. That is according to Alden Uher and Lee 1993. The research of Alden and Uher and Lee 1993 established a foundational understanding of how cultural context fundamentally shapes humor perception in advertising, making it inherently risky for brands operating in international or diverse markets. Their study demonstrated a critical paradox in humorous advertising. While humor relies on universal cognitive mechanism for processing incongruity and surprise, its effectiveness depends entirely on culturally specific content that resonates with local audiences. Furthermore, the challenges of translating humor across cultures cultures go far beyond linguistic differences. It can be cultural references, local celebrities, political figures, current events, or social stereotypes and traditions provide the context that makes humor funny. Without this background, jokes can fall flat or be completely misunderstood. The third one is short lived impact. Humorous ads may grab attention but often fail to build long term brand loyalty. The fundamental challenge revealed by Alden et al. 1993 is that humor's short lived impacts create a strategic dilemma for marketers. While humor can effectively initiate consumer engagement, translating the engagement into lasting brand loyalty requires additional strategic elements that may be incompatible with humorous approaches. And these effects are indeed short lived unless supported by additional brand building strategies that create deeper, more sustained emotional connection with consumers. So the last one, disadvantages, is not suitable for all products. According to Shrimp and Andrews 2013, humor may reduce credibility for serious, sensitive, or high involvement products. So when a consumer is evaluating a high cost or high risk product, their mental state is one of high involvement. We are actively seeking detailed information, comparing futures, and weighing long term consequences. In this context, humor can be a distracting nuisance rather than a welcome relief. That's why, in my own understanding, humor works with best products that don't require a lot through or risk, like drinks, snacks, and everyday items. So to conclude my part, humor is a powerful tool in advertising because it grabs attentions, make brands more likable, and help message stick in people's mind. Campaigns like Old Spice, Sneakers, and RC Cola show how humor can revive brands, connect with audiences, and even go viral. However, humor also has limits. It can offend, be misunderstood across cultures, or lose impact quickly. This means advertiser must use it carefully and make sure the humor fits the product and the audience. Overall, when it used wisely and correctly, humor is one of the most effective ways to persuade and engage consumer. That's all of my part. Thank you.
Good day to one and all. So moving on to the irony as persuasive tool. By the way, I'm Jeremy Rida, and to start it, according to Bulla 2019, irony is when something happens or is said that is the opposite of what we expect. In ads, this can be very powerful because it was mentioned there by Singh et al. That it often injects humor and wit that enhances emotional engagement. In simple terms, it grabs attention and makes people think. Moving on to the next slide. Now we have here the first type of irony, the situational irony. This is when something happens that is the opposite of what people expect, or when a brand sets up a normal scenario and then flips it at the end. For instance, an energy drink ad where someone drinks it expecting a big burst of power, but instead, they calmly fall asleep, showing a funny twist. Next slide, please. Now, for us to better grasp what situational irony is, I want you to look at this ad from 2014. This ad starts off looking totally normal, but then it surprises viewers with something unexpected. What happens is that the guy is granted a wish for anything after giving the old lady half of his pito. He then wishes for a sports car. As people expect it to end with the guy getting a sports car, the fairy instead grants him a sports car sliced in half. That surprise is what made it memorable and ironic even up to this day. Next slide, please. Now, moving on to dramatic irony. While situational irony is when something happens that is the opposite of what we expect, dramatic irony, on the other hand, happens when the audience knows something that the characters in the ad don't. So we, the viewers, knows it while the people in the ad don't. For instance, in a fast food ad, a man hides his fries behind his back, thinking no one can see them. But the audience already knows there's a mirror right behind him. The ad shows someone hiding badly while we can clearly see them, but they don't realize it yet. Next slide, please. Another good example of this is the ad of Burger King back in 2018 called the Whopper Neutrality Campaign. It was created to explain the complicated issue of net neutrality in a way that everyday people could understand. Now, you might ask how it is done. So, here it is. Customers came into a Burger King store to order a Whopper, but instead of the usual service, the employees told them they had to pay different prices depending on how fast they wanted their Whopper delivered. For instance, The slow lane was the cheapest, but the customers had to wait a long time. On the other hand, the fast lane cost way more, but you get your Whopper quickly. Naturally, customers get frustrated and even angry because it felt unfair. Now, why is it an example of dramatic irony? Because the audience already understands the message. We know it's not really about burgers, it's about the internet service providers. But the customers in the ad don't realize this. They think that they're just being scammed at a Burger King store. Next slide, please. Next is verbal irony. This is when people say the opposite of what they really mean. In ads, this makes the message catchy because it also surprises the audience. For instance, a clothing ad saying, wear this if you want to stay unnoticed, while showing someone getting a lot of attention in the outfit. Next slide, please. Another good example of verbal irony is when Metro Trains Melbourne launched the Damn Ways to Die campaign in 2012 as a public safety message to reduce train related accidents. The ad featured a catchy animated music video showing a cute, colorful, colorful characters dying in ridiculous and silly ways, like poking a stick at a grizzly bear, using your private parts as a piranha bait, or setting your hair on fire. So, what made that ad a verbal irony? The phrase "damn ways to die" is a funny and light-hearted way of saying or making that sound entertaining or cute. But the real meaning is serious. It shows how unsafe behavior on trains can lead to tragic consequences. That gap between what is said and what is meant makes it verbal irony. Next slide, please. Now, let's talk about the advantages of using irony in ads, or what made it effective. According to Team and Team 2015, ironic ads grabs people attention and make them more interested compared to normal ads. Ironic ads also makes people like the brand more. For products, people people don't think too much about. A playful, ironic ad can make them feel more positive about the brand. And lastly, when irony is used in a new or unexpected way, it makes the ad seem creative and it helps it stand out more. Next slide, please. Now we have here the disadvantages of using irony in ads. Sometimes the viewers don't realize the ad is being ironic. They can misunderstand the message, which hurts the ad's impact. There are also times when ironic style feels overused or predictable. It won't make the ad more persuasive than a normal one. And lastly, even if ironic ads make people like the brand more, they don't always make people want to buy the product or trust the ad more. For instance, if Whopper neutrality ad of Burger King was misinterpreted, viewers might think Burger King is greedy and trying to overcharge customers for faster service. Instead of seeing it as a social commentary, people might see it as a bad customer experience and lose trust in the brand. Some could even miss the internet connection entirely and think the ad was just a weird or confusing joke about service. And if Damn Ways to Die ad of Trains Melbourne in 2012 was misinterpreted, first is some audiences might take the cartoon that's literally or, or entertaining and miss the serious safety message. Second is younger viewers could think it's funny or cute to try dangerous things instead of avoiding them. And lastly, critics might argue that the campaign made light of death and risk of offending people who had lost loved ones in accidents. The bottom line is that when irony is misunderstood, the message gets lost. And instead of educating or persuading, the ad may confuse, offend, or annoy people. Now, to wrap this up, Situational irony is about a twist in events. Something happens that the opposite of what we expect. Dramatic irony is when the audience knows something that the characters don't, which builds tension or humor. And lastly, verbal irony is when someone says the opposite of what they mean, usually in a witty or playful way. What they all have in common is that they create surprise, make people think, and often add humor. The main difference is how the surprise is delivered, be it actions, hidden knowledge, or verbal words. Therefore, irony can be a very powerful tool in advertising. It grabs attention, makes people laugh, and helps them remember the message. But it should be used carefully so that people don't get confused. That's all for my part, and have a good day, everyone.
Good day, everyone. So, today I'll be reporting about internet slang in advertising. So, first, let's define it. Next slide, please. Internet slang is basically the playful, informal, or shortened language we usually use online. Things like LOL, POV, emoji, or OMG, and even meme inspired expressions. Well, according to Liu et al. In 2019, this kind of language comes from digital culture and social media trends. In ads, it's not just for fun, it's actually a strategy. Advertisers use it because it makes their content more relatable, attention grabbing, and it connects better with younger, internet savvy audiences. Now, let's look at the advantages, disadvantages, and its examples. Next slide. First advantage is slang grabs attention and makes ads look creative. Let's say, for example, POV, it's 3 a.m. and your stomach said with an emoji, with an eye emoji, burger emoji, and eyes emoji. Don't worry, bestie, we got you. Hashtag late night munchies. Well, this works because it's short, relatable, and funny. Most people have experienced being hungry at 3 a.m. and the slang POV plus emojis make it feel like a natural online post, not just an ad. On the other hand, too much slang can hurt the brand's credibility. Let's say, for example, LMAO fam, you'll find yet these burgers into your face with this call emoji 100, FR, laughing emoji, burger emoji, and a glittering emoji. This one goes overboard. Why? Because it uses too many slang words like it, FR, and even random emojis. Instead of sounding natural, it feels forced and fake, like the brand is trying too hard to be cool. Next advantage is that slang works really well for everyday, low involvement products like clothes or fast food. Let's say, for example, a Let's say, for example, these new drops, straight fire, no cup, walk in, flex out, hashtag drip check. This this is great because this is great for sneakers or streetwear because slangs like straight fire and no cup are common in fashion culture. It's casual, trendy, and matches how people actually talk about clothes online. On the other hand, it doesn't work for high involvement or luxury products where people expect elegance. Let's say, for example, you bro, this kicks ability AF ONG ONG. Hashtag fit goals flex hashtag flex fives. Well, this one is a mess. There's too much slang and some terms like liti AF and ONG aren't even that widely used. Instead of sounding cool, it sounds awkward, almost like a parody of slang. Last advantage is that the slang makes a brand look innovative and fun, showing it's in touch with trends. Let's say, for example, When your Wi-Fi is so fast, you can stream, game, and stalk your crush at the same time. Hashtag lag no more. This works because it's funny and relatable. It connects to real online habits like streaming, gaming, even joking about stalking your crush. The slang is light, the slang is light and balanced, so it feels natural. However, not everyone reacts positively. Some find slang cringe or unprofessional. Also, older audiences might understood this slang. Let's say for example, bruh, our net be zooming faster than your ex ghosting you. RIP log. Hashtag Wi-Fi skirt skirt. This one tries too hard, comparing Wi-Fi speed to your ex ghosting you. Feels cringe and slang like skirt skirt doesn't really match internet or Wi-Fi. It just feels random. Instead of making the ad funny, it makes it awkward. Another example is the um, TikTok post of Careline ad that used internet slang like OMG, basic, seriously, and YOLO to sound funny and relatable. This style connects with young audiences because it feels like friendly online and it's not a boring sales pitch. It makes the product seem trendy and exciting, persuading customers to try it since, as the ad says, YOLO. And the question is, when is the effective time to use internet slang as a persuasive tool? Well, slang is most effective when the audience is young and active online. It also works when the slang is current and the brand uses a casual tone. Most importantly, it should be used in moderation to keep the ad clear and natural. Next slide, please. Why does it matter? It matters because makes ads more persuasive by catching attention and sounding relatable. It helps build a sense of connection between the brand and the audience. Plus, it makes the message easier to remember and appealing. In conclusion, in our reporting, the conscious use of inclusive and gender sensitive language is essential for building trust and demonstrating a commitment to equality, ultimately enhancing brand reputation. While humor, irony, and internet slang can be powerful tools for engaging audiences, especially younger demographics, they must be employed judiciously to ensure authenticity and avoid alienating potential consumers. And that's our report, and thank you for listening.